When the Templars murdered my family. When the whole bloody world's gone crazy. Hellcat, Sector 9. To Michael! Michael! For all he does. For all of us. To Michael. To Michael! To Michael! To Michael!
You know, before we get into this, just want to say the PlayStation 3 was a very unique console. It had such interesting features. It had an Opera-based browser. That cell processor was the talk of the town. You could power a city, apparently, with that thing, you know? Super hard to develop for. But despite of all that, the thing was charming. You know, we'll never forget Ridge Racer and,
oh my God.
you know, $599.99. We'll never forget that.
It's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer, $599 US.
Nope.
But the one thing that we really will never forget are the classic games that are exclusive to the platform and you can't find anywhere else. Ain't that right, buddy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There were a lot of charming games that popped up on that console, both creatively and just kind of like continuing the genres that had originated on the PlayStation 2 and just kept up with the times, man. It was a time for us as like you and I as like gamers, man. We spent a lot of time on our PlayStations.
We sure did. So with the news that Sony is going to shut down the store for PlayStation 3 and PS Vita, we are now going to be talking about our favorite games of the era that are exclusive to the PS3. So these are games that aren't on PS4, aren't on PC. They are locked to this console. If you can get them physically, perfect. Go ahead and do so. But if you can't and you want to get them digitally, now you have a timer. So we're just gonna go over our top 10 games that on the PS3 that are stuck on that console. So that's what we're gonna do today.
Beautifully.
The first game on our list today is going to be 3D Dot Game Heroes. Now, this is a game that not a lot of people know. Most people, when they think of From Software on the PS3, they think of two games, Demon Souls and Dark Souls. But they actually had 3D Dot Game Heroes in between those two. It was a little like Zelda-esque game where you create your character from little tiny blocks, you put them together, and you go on this grand adventure. Very, very much like Zelda. It has an overworld theme, dungeons, everything you can think of. Very charming, very cute. I love the graphics and art style. If you've never played 3D Dot Game Heroes, it's definitely one that you should seek out. If it's on the, hopefully it's on the store. And if it is, definitely check it out. It's worth buying. It's definitely a Zelda parody. Highly recommended. It's a From Software game with a lot of charm.
I know that you let me borrow that a while ago, and I never actually got a chance to get into it. There is one game that came out on the PlayStation 3 that I think you and I can both agree on has a phenomenal OST, and that is Katamari Forever. Katamari Forever, for those of you that have never played a Katamari game, like, just do it. It's this endearing, over the top, and yet somewhat dark experience at times with the king of the cosmos and just like the tongue-in-cheek humor that is in it as well. But it essentially, like, you're the prince and you're rolling this Katamari and it just collects things continuously and you're just growing and growing and growing and rebuilding the stars essentially. Out of everything in that game, I just remember having a calming experience, man, and amazing music. The jazz that was in there was on point, and I just, for anybody that has played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I recommend that, man. Definitely another title.
Katamari is very unique. It's definitely a single type of game, and you know, when you play a Katamari game, you've pretty much played all of them. There's not very much differentiating between all of them, but they do have a charm, like you said. The different types of genres of music that they use in all of their levels are just, you go from like super fast rock to, like you said, jazz to some smooth J-pop, like Angel's Rain from We Love Katamari. I'll never forget that song. It's amazing. So I agree with you. Great choice to have up there. Katamari Forever, definitely. So the next game you can actually play on a PlayStation 5, but it's a pretty different game. That game is Demon Souls. Now, the reason why we thought Demon Souls should be on this list is because, again, yes, you can play the remake on PS5. It looks a lot better. It runs a lot better. It has an online system that is pretty damn good, better than you could say. But there's something about the original look. There's something about the original feel of Demon Souls. It's clunky, it's ugly, but it's also really oppressive. And Demon Souls was the first game in the Souls franchise, right? The Souls-born hero genre of gaming. So I think if anybody has a PS3 and they want to experience the original harrowing experience, play Demon Souls. You've got nothing to lose except your soul.
What a pun. I love it. I love it. But I do agree with you. Demon Souls is an amazing game. Like, I mean, I remember, first getting that game, and it was the cover that really drew me in. I wasn't paying attention to the actual gaming industry as much as I am today. And Demon Souls, I just remember going in and just being stubborn as heck because I didn't want to go ahead and lose my souls. But you play the game vastly differently than you would, any of the later Souls titles, Sekiro, Bloodborne, etc. You want to take your time and you want to go ahead and play defensively because you just lose your health so fast. But I remember us like going through the game and just loving everything from the music, graphically it was amazing at the time. Even today, like I feel, aside from the 24 frames per second, but still, phenomenal game, man. Phenomenal game. The next game that I do want to go ahead and talk about is Heavenly Sword. Guys, Heavenly Sword is an amazing action game. It's a little short, if I'm 100% honest with you, but this was my first foray with Ninja Theory, and I bought it for, I think it was like $9-10 in GameStop. I bought it on a whim. I was just like, wow, this looks really cool. Let's go ahead and check it out. And I fell in love with it. I thought it was a phenomenal experience that, dude, honestly, you have to play it. I will let you borrow one of my PS3s. You have got to play and experience it for yourself. It's short. It's not long. But it's something that you should go ahead and play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I've never played Heavenly Sword. It was always a game that looked interesting. I know graphically it was a showpiece when the PS3 first came out, and of course it had the performance of Andy Serkis as that one character. Very cool. Definitely ahead of its time with story. Well, I don't know about storytelling, but I know that in terms of performances and mocap, very, very technologically advanced, and it looked good. I just never got around to playing it. I know it had a lot of somewhat interesting controls, maybe even gimmicky with the 6-axis, but never played it. So definitely one that I would like to play in some sort of retro stream or something and see how it goes. The next game is actually 2 games. One of them got ported to the PlayStation 4 a couple of years back and is one of both of ours favorite games of all time. That is the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus collection. And there's 2 reasons why we recommend this. Number 1, it's got Ico. You can't play Ico anywhere else unless you have a PS2. The original feel of Shadow of the Colossus was also very lonely, right? It was very harrowing as well in a different way than Demon Souls. And it made you feel like you were on this grand adventure that was very sad. And the remake still has that, but it's so pretty, it's so colorful, that it loses a lot of that original feeling, in my opinion. So I think that people should not only play the amazing Ico, but also play the original vision that Ueda had for Shadow of the Colossus.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you, man. There's a reason why I bought this game every single time that it came out. It is phenomenal. The music, this is at a point in my life when it came out. This is when I started to realize that games are more than just games. Games can essentially be art and can do more than just, hey, I'm going to shoot at something and I'm going to have fun, evoking emotions and telling a story through a cinematic adventure. This, honestly, musically, graphically, at the time was amazing. I am glad that they brought that back, and I wish and I hope, I doubt it'll happen, but I hope that we will see the Colossi that weren't in the final game. I know that it probably won't happen, but
probably won't, yeah.
But One can hope. One can hope.
We can dream. We can dream.
The next title that I do want to go ahead and talk to you guys about is from a studio that recently came out with a GOTY-worthy game in 2020. And this is Infamous 1 and 2. We put them together because Infamous, I mean, overall is an amazing experience. If you haven't played them, essentially it came out, and I originally thought that it was going to be kind of just this overall sandbox game where you're inside and you have these powers and boom shakalaka, you're said and done. But the overall traversal, I think, in this game and the overall gameplay is really what set it apart from all of the other sandbox titles that were coming out at the time. Musically, it fit the style. Gameplay-wise, it fit the style, but I think it just continuously built on that feeling of power as you progress through the game. And I think it was a little bit addicting, at least for me, because I wanted to keep unlocking powers as I went. I mean, how was it for you, Onyx?
I mean, similar to you. The open world that it had wasn't super huge, but like you said, traversal was really well done. I mean, zipping on those like wires, right, the electric wires, and gathering shards all across the city to continuously making your character stronger was very addictive. I think, even though I didn't get the platinum, it was one of the first games on PS3 where I pretty much got every single shard. I even had to find a guide because I couldn't find the last shard. I had no idea where it was, so I had to go through the whole friggin' list to find that last shard. I'm like, oh, that's where it is. It took me a while to get it, but I did it. And yeah, Infamous 1 and 2 should be played back to back because Infamous 1 ends on a huge cliffhanger, and 1 and 2 are honestly such a good story that they should both be played, just back to back. So if you have a PS3, you've never played the Infamous series, you should definitely play it and get it before it gets taken off the store. The next game on our list is it was dubbed a Halo killer, Sony's Halo killer, and that was Killzone. I played Killzone 1 on PlayStation 2, and it was a decent game. But when Killzone 2 came out, that game honestly was fantastic. The gunplay was really, really well done, and everything felt heavy. Every movement, running, sprinting, doing your melee attacks, aiming down your sights and putting it away, that everything just felt slow and heavy because you were carrying these giant guns that were heavy to carry and hard to move around. So it felt extra realistic, even though you were in an alien planet fighting these, Hellgas, which were obviously very Nazi inspired. So a very good game with a solid campaign that went downhill with Killzone 3. But really good multiplayer as well. They got the gunplay and game feel just right. And I would love for them to come back with a good Killzone. But yeah, Killzone 2 is definitely a must play if you have a PS3.
The next title that I want to go ahead and talk about is a title that like this, talking about pinnacles and things like that. Like, let's just get it out of the way. It's Metal Gear Solid 4. Sons of the Patriots. It made you buy a console, Onyx.
Guns of the Patriots.
What did I say?
You said Sons of the Patriots.
Oh my God. I quit.
You're thinking it's Sons of Liberty.
There's a scene, and it's somewhat spoilerish, but it's near the end of the game. Snake does something that puts himself in a situation where he might not come back. And the amount of tension as a player that I felt during that scene was mind-blowing. Obviously, throughout the story, you have your Hideo Kojima tropes, long cinematics, amazing voice acting, some nanomachine craziness, but overall, it is a great game that definitely makes you question the state of the world that we live in today.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is the culmination of Solid Snake's story.
Right.
It is as fan servicey as it can be. It's the evolution of the gameplay that Kojima had been evolving since 1998 with Metal Gear Solid. I mean, you could even argue since the 80s with the first Metal Gear. I don't remember if I cried, but I will tell you this. I was in utter awe of everything. Every single moment that meant to hit. Every single moment that made you rethink of every single memory you've had with this series that has been running for over 20 years at the time. It just hit hard. It hit home. It hit a lot of different feelings and emotions, and that final fight with Ocelot, it was fucking magical. How Snake goes through different segments of the fight. The health bar changes to represent the game that that fight is like on at the moment. Like MGS1 health bar, it plays the MGS1 music. Like, fucking brilliant. It's just brilliant game design. And if you're a fan of Metal Gear Solid and you got all the way to Metal Gear Solid 4, absolutely, like, it's not a perfect game. It has a lot of issues, but it is the perfect Metal Gear Solid finale. Like, it's everything you could dream of. It has a fucking, like, 3-hour epilogue after the final fight. I love it. I absolutely adore Metal Gear Solid 4. So, yes, play it, damn it. The next game on our list is Resistance 2. Resistance 1, if I remember correctly, was a launch title or launch window game. And it was pretty solid. It had, you know, a unique idea. You know, aliens invaded during World War II. And it was well done. Really unique weapons was really what set it off. And plus, the graphics look good. But Resistance 2 added so much more. The campaign was, for better or worse, streamlined into making it feel more like a Halo game. But the weapons were still very unique, and the online had a mode that was very, almost Destiny-like, where you and up to 3 other people, if I remember correctly, would go on these like missions, and you would like shoot down a bunch of aliens, and they would have like huge health pools. It wasn't too deep. It wasn't super like Destiny, where you had like obviously huge worlds and huge gear and stuff, but it was enough that it stood out. I actually put a lot of hours into that mode. Out of all the Resistance games, you can play them all, but I definitely suggest Resistance 2 at the very least.
Why am I going to talk about the Metal Gear Solid collection?
Because Rudy, it's totally fair.
Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, guys, we have this list, and I'm like looking at it. I'm just like, okay, it's my turn. Oh wait, what? MGS Collection. Being able to go ahead and get this all in one, it makes sense, man. It's like you said, the culmination in Metal Gear Solid 4, like it goes all the way back, almost as if they had been planning this entire time. It hits, and being able to experience everything back to back to back to back to back is amazing. I just wish that they would go ahead and bring it to PC. That's the one thing that I asked for, but that's why it's on this list, because you can only play it on the PlayStation 3. That is it. There is no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you want to experience the entirety of MGS, there you go. You can play it on PS3, get the MGS Collection, and play it there. And mind you, it's not just MGS 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also Metal Gear. It's also Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. It's also got Peace Walker. Like, why wouldn't you want to go ahead and experience MGS in its entirety?
It's great that we're finishing with MGS Collection, because the topic of this video is that the store is getting closed on the PlayStation 3, so get these games. And if you get the collection, in order for you to play Metal Gear Solid 1, it comes with a code that you have to use to download the game off of the store. It's not on the disc. Same with the older Metal Gears. So, yes, buy yourself the physical Metal Gear Solid Collection. I'm not even sure if it's available on the store. But if it is, I mean, 100% buy it there too, because it is genuinely a part of history. In 1998, when the original Metal Gear Solid came out, no other game had that cinematic approach. No other game tried to tell that deep of a story in that specific way. You could argue the Final Fantasies before, like 4, 5, 6, they definitely did tell deep stories too, but MGS, nothing like it. Completely voiced, with a hell of a cast, with really good voice direction, and that honestly changed gaming, in my opinion. So, highly, highly recommend Metal Gear Solid Collection to anyone that's into games. And even if you don't like the games, even if you don't like stealth gameplay, you just gotta play it. It's fantastic. And we're not even talking about the bosses. You know, we could do a whole video on Metal Gear Solid, because there's a lot to talk about. But we're gonna cap it off here. Metal Gear Solid Collection, you gotta play it.
Agreed.
Sony shutting down the store just reminds me that digital licenses are never guaranteed.
Yep.
Now that the store is getting shut down, even if you download them and your PS3 dies, you're out of luck. What are you going to do? Are you going to re-download them? You can't. Unless that's an option. I don't know. But regardless, once those servers are gone, they're gone for good. And what are we going to do now? Sony needs to get on the ball, get on off their high horse, and give us backwards compatibility, because there is a giant library of history that is not being kept up. Gaming wants to be like movies. Gaming looks at film and says, hey, we can be good too, right? Why don't we treat our history the same way that film does? And that's the problem. That's one of my biggest gripes, and this is one of the issues that I have with Sony's decision to shut the store down. So, especially with no BC on PS5.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more and stay up to date, subscribe, hit the little bell, and join our Discord.
If you want to support the channel, please check out our Patreon or hit the join button below. As always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.